Yo, what's up, guys? Let's just do a little fireside chat. Something I noticed and I think is essential, like actually essential to the core of who men are and how we can not kind of, how we can succeed and starve off this kind of fake mental illness or anything like that, or depression, whatever you want to call it. Case of the saddies. All right, so check this out. So I love summer. Like summer is one of my favorite times, and it's a busy time. And here's why I think the go with the flow, spontaneousness of a lot of people's attitudes, and like I don't have a schedule, or like I just gotta go with it, or I let my wife plan things, or like I let my girlfriend plan these things, or that kind of passive attitude of spontaneousness, and that passive attitude of letting other people plan out how your day is, the plans for the weekends, all of those things is detrimental to your mental health. So there are two books that influenced me greatly. More than two books, but we're just going to call these for the discipline um, and order. These two books were big game changers for my mindset. Like opened my mind fully. One of them is it's usually on my bedstand, is Di Re Militari, and that is by a Vegetarius. I don't know his full giant Latin name, but part of the Roman Empire, and they're kind of talking about like, hey, why were the Romans successful? Why were they not successful? What's led to their failure? Why were the Romans, militaristically successful before? And it really comes down to the whole book comes down to one thing: nonstop training, nonstop evolutions, and picking out the right men from the start, right? So not taking weak men, and they even call out like the types of backgrounds that weak men would have. So they pick out men that are accustomed to suffering. So your hard working class and your farmers. That's what made up the Roman military, because they were used to being out in the sun, suffering, hungry, always on the go, nonstop, never letting up. And there's something to be said for that attitude. And in our society right now, there is tons of wiggle room to not do any of that stuff, to not be hungry, to not be busy, to not be troubled, to not be, focused on the next day or the next meal, or getting the fields plowed, or going on a march, or the training of the day in the military. Um, there's none of those things. There's none of those things. And when you don't have those, you can fall into complacency and lax behavior, because you don't need to worry about that stuff. So here's what I would suggest, and here's what I'm doing, and what I've been doing, and I kind of fell off of it a little bit, so I was just kind of doing a check-in, re-evaluation of myself. I was thinking like, what's going on? Like, why haven't I been like, you know, the best I could possibly be? And it really came down to my schedule, because it's summertime and kids are home and we're having fun and like doing things, and it's terrific. It's truly terrific. Like everybody's staying up later. There's just like a lot more stuff. And like there's nothing wrong with doing those things, but what's wrong is when you do those things too much. And I think that's where men start to suffer. There's too much take it easy, go with the flow, and not kind of putting yourself to the grinder. So here's what I suggest. For me, and this is what I'm doing: putting myself back on a very serious schedule. Like, I'm a big guy in checklists. Like wake up, turn my phone on at a certain time, turn it off at a certain time, like very, 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 very regimented. The way I cut my hair, the way I organize my life, the day I cut my hair, everything is very systematic. What I read, what I don't read, time spent on social media, time not spent on social media. Everything is very, very, very regimented. And I know that sounds crazy to some of you guys, but try it. You will actually be happier. Like you can start building it. Like the time I go to the gym, what I do, the exercises I do, all of it comes into this going through this checklist for the day of like the important things to do. And I noticed I started slacking on important things that are important to my children. Like I try to catechize them in the morning, each morning, and read them some Bible and catechize them at the same time and have interesting conversations about the nature of God and all this type of stuff. Basic catechism, right? Straight out of the Baltimore Catechism. Then I noticed I was not doing that because they're home from school and they're chilled out for the summer, and we need to get back to our Monday through Friday routine of doing this. Like what's holding anybody back from 12 to 15 minutes of reading to your kids and catechizing them over breakfast. And that's my thing. That's how I organized it. And I've been doing that for years, but kind of got lax a little bit with like my phone still being on past the 7:30 p.m. hour. And that's detrimental to me. Like that messes up some stuff. So and I suggest you guys too, get rigid with that. Start to put real bounds on yourself, because no one is going to put bounds on you, right? There's no, for you, and we're just all regular guys out there. For you regular guys out there, if you don't discipline yourself and put yourself through the evolutions, like military style, and go through all the evolutions and do things specifically at a specific time, specific days, this is your routine, this is what you do, it starts to wear on you. And if you guys aren't doing that, and you're like, I just kind of do things when I feel like it, that's probably leading to your unhappiness. And if you guys watch my other videos, like I don't particularly believe in quote unquote, happiness or joy, but there is a peacefulness associated with checking boxes and going through the evolutions and having a full day. Like, I check the boxes and go through the evolutions as in even my reading got off. Like I would read, a book that I want to read. It's going to, educate me or better me or something I'm interested in, like a lot of military stuff or things of that nature, or spiritual books. And I even like time that out, like 20 minutes, like on a stopwatch, just do the time, just put it aside. No one can interrupt, get it done. Same thing with, work tasks, et cetera, et cetera. So getting back to going through the evolutions. Now, the other book that influenced me, so two books that are terrific for dudes that are go with the flow and trying to find something out. The other one is this. It's The Rule of Saint Benedict in English. Oh, I dropped it. And this is almost a companion with me all the time, just because it's so chock full of, insights and antidotes. And it's basically for the spiritual life, like, we're the church militant, right? This is, part of the program. You're in spiritual warfare and you're kind of in warfare against your own nature. The Rule of Saint Benedict lays out all the rules. Now it's laying out rules for monks and nuns, and it's been adopted. It's been adopted by countless orders throughout history. Like it's had a 1,500-year history of being used as the organizing book of how to run a successful monastery or convent, and that has a lot to do with it. But also the rules in there, when you go through the book and you're reading it, you're understanding lessons that you can take to your everyday life, you know, in the spiritual realm, and also with your family, with your coworkers in life, that you can take with you, because you're internalizing this too, and you could use it as a layperson, someone that is not in a monastery or in an order, to help govern you. So I'll just random page, right? We're just gonna pick it out, something I notated. Uh, they're talking about the 11th step of humility, that a monk speaks gently, without laughter, seriously, with becoming modesty, briefly and reasonably, but without raising his voice. As it is written, a wise man is known by few words. And how true is that in life? We've all seen it where, the maybe the patriarch of a family would be sitting there and everybody's arguing, and then he's been listening the whole time, and then sits everybody down with authority, and then speaks briefly and modestly in his words, and governs the whole situation. Or you've seen that in an office setting, I'm sure, or with an owner or a vice president of a company, where they just command it and they speak briefly in modesty with few words. They've taken in the situation, and everybody shuts up and listens to them. So just like all sorts of these tiny little anecdotes in here of how to live righteously, live goodly, live happily, live peacefully. But it's all by governing you. And the other book, De Re Militari, those have really formed me. So for you guys that are in the summer, go with the flow, sporadic, I think it's detrimental for you. I think you need to order yourself. I know that's where I am the most peaceful, and I feel internally, like in my being, like in my core, like how I move through the world, how I operate, like I'm the most confident, the most peaceful, the most religious, the best worker I can be, the best husband, the best father, the best friend to my friendships, is when everything starts getting very, very ordered, like checklist, go through the evolutions, do the same things. This is your Monday through Friday schedule. This is Saturday schedule. This is Sunday schedule. And Sunday's more of a rest day for sure, always. And that's how I order my life and order the household here. But yeah, so those two books, guys, and hopefully those will help you out. I think also we'll put in an anecdote here. A big game changer for me when I was very, very unordered and undisciplined, and just kind of really, really going with the flow, like trying to practice all the worldly virtues, which is go with the flow, stay safe, non-judgmental. Like everybody has their own opinions, like that's fine. Like, if it's right for them, then it's right. Like all that type of loosey-goosey stuff. What really, really, really got me and helped me quite a bit was I got serious with religion. I got the books, I read them, I read the Catechism of the Council of Trent, I read the Bible. I started getting very, very serious, and I found a very serious church where not only do we know what the commandments are, but we do our best to strive to follow the commandments and to not follow the commandments because they don't agree with your silly worldview. Really starting to conform yourself to the commandments, and then you start really conforming yourself to God, and that is what religion is. You start getting into it. So I would suggest that for you guys. Just get ordered, put yourself through the evolutions, put yourself through it like a military evolution. There's something big to be said about that, of not just ordered. Your business is probably super ordered, and I get that. Our calendars are our calendars, and when your meetings are, et cetera, et cetera. But ordering the rest of your life, like starting to really regiment, like, exactly, when you go to bed, when you wake up, you do it even if you had a bad night's sleep. how you work out, which days you do what workouts, um, how long you read for on a daily basis, Monday through Friday, what you read on Saturday. I mean, I'm ordered. I read different things on Saturday than I do Monday through Friday, an actual different book. And I have a different routine on a Saturday and a different routine on a Sunday, but the rest, they're all the same for Saturdays and Sundays. And the Monday through Friday is very, very similar, like planned out evolution wise. So I suggest you guys do that, and you're not governed. So you got to govern yourself. You got to be your own, legion commander and start to put yourself through the evolutions. That's it.